Hello and welcome to Mad About Sports, and we are back with a football stream, and it is the FA Cup final preview. We promised you guys that we will be back and we'll be talking about the Manchester Derby because it is showtime in less than 24 hours. We're going to see who's going to gain the Manchester supremacy. Is it going to the blue side or the red side? It's not often these two teams meet in a final, and now that they are going to meet, there's nothing bigger than this. Ten Hag has already mentioned and has already given out, being very vocal, that there's one more game left. Show us the hope, and we are not going to disappoint you. And the other end, Manchester City is still chasing for the treble, Premier League champions. And yeah, in 1 week time, they're going to be playing two major games. I have Antariksh with me, an ardent United fan. Yes, we are going to be talking about it. He's going to be sharing every possible thing about United. How does he see it from a United fans' perspective and from a neutral perspective as well? Welcome, Antarish. How excited and nervous are you at the same time?
Yeah, exactly. Nice, nice that you added that word there. I am. I don't know if I'd call it nervousness, but there is some sort of jitters, those that are going on. But I think I would have been pretty nervous any other case, but it's just the season that it's been. I mean, what I expected out of the first season, especially after the first two games, and how the season has panned out, and how like I have seen this team grow in stature and in confidence, and
Yeah,
yeah, just the gelling of players of big personalities. Some big personalities leaving as well,
yeah.
but yeah, the other ones, gelling with the squad and just feeling united for once. So yeah, pretty just happy, and I've been saying it on other platforms. This season's a success for me.
Hmm.
Don't compare the season with the old United and stuff like
Yeah,
that. Oh, standards are down. Of course they're
yeah.
down.
That's why I'll ask you a question right here.
Yeah.
If I were to ask you at the start of the season, um, you would be, if I were to just tell you, like, you would win the Carabao Cup, you'd be playing the FA Cup final, you'd be making the top four. Would you have taken it, or would you have said, like, I would have wanted more?
No, I would have taken it with, I don't know, with my hands and legs combined. I don't know, man.
Yeah,
I would have taken. You would have said top four, full stop. I would have taken it.
taken
I
it.
would have
Oh wow.
taken it then, and man, you know
Okay,
what
would you
people
have
don't
taken it right
realize?
after that Brentford and Brighton trashing? Like things were not looking good there, right? You're like, oh my
Oh
god,
man,
Brentford is going back down again.
who knows? I would have taken Europa League as well back then.
Oh, wow.
I because what people don't realize is, and I've sort of a vocal customer of these things. Even before the Brighton game or anything, there's City, there's Liverpool. Liverpool has gone the other side, but that is like an aftermath. Let's not fall
Hmm.
into recency bias. Liverpool, City. Then there was Arsenal, Tottenham, Chelsea, and then there were the likes of Brighton coming up. Don't
Yeah,
forget West Ham last season
hmm.
finished just below the Europa League spots,
Yeah, yeah,
and
yeah.
or did they? I don't know if
Yeah,
they
it's just
finished in the
below,
Europa.
below Europe. That's why they're playing the
Yeah, the
Conference League.
Europa League spots, and then they went on to buy the likes of Paqueta. So they were clearly challenging for Europe and in and around places. Then
Yeah.
there were teams like
Newcastle had a very
Brighton.
good season. Newcastle had a
Then there
revival.
was Newcastle. So I have just mentioned 8, 9 teams just trying to focus all of their strengths on top four.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
out of
yeah,
the
yeah.
top four, I would have given away the
Maybe
top two
add
spots
Brighton
to
also to
Liverpool
that
and
list with the
City.
kind of start they got.
Yeah,
Brighton was having a very good start, so
I mean
you're pretty much
exactly.
right there.
So
Nine, ten
so
teams
so
rather.
exactly 9, 10 teams, and you give up the first two spots to Liverpool and City, and that keeps two spots for like 8 teams. So like even if you have a decent season, there's like more than 60% chance that you wouldn't finish in the top four. That is the sort of the competition in the Premier League. So I was just, even before this, I would have taken top four any day, man. And the start we had, the new manager, the Ronaldo thing, Ronaldo feels as if it was one season
Ages
ago. It
ago.
was
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
ages ago, exactly. Don't
Yeah.
He just left in January, man. He
It's like
just
for
left
five
in
months.
2023. It's not
Hmm.
even been 5 months exactly.
Yeah. Incredible,
That is what
incredible.
victory can do.
Incredible, incredible. Because Manchester is red. Yeah, I mean, I have something else to say, but nonetheless, it's beautiful to take all these comments. But let's start off by talking about tomorrow's game because 24 hours to go. Team is almost out there. Eric Ten Hag has been very vocal about how he wants to go about it, what he wants to do with it, and at the same time, we have to also understand this is a game they can go all in and they'll have nothing else to worry about. Because for
Yeah.
tomorrow, for Manchester City on the other end, they will be having their eye 1 week later on as well, because they know they can't put everything on the line for tomorrow,
Yeah.
because if
Yeah.
something goes wrong, that might possibly affect their biggest game of the season. That is the
Absolutely.
Champions League final. But for United, they know they're going all in. So you
Yeah.
think that gives a slight, a tad bit advantage to Eric Ten Hag, just looking at that perspective, that tomorrow is the last game of the season. Let's just go out there and give all in, and then we have 2 months break. Then we'll see what happens next season.
See, of course, of course, that plays a part. That plays some sort of part. But I'm not sure these any sort of these psychological things or these drain or this and that like works on Guardiola teams.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
I just think like वो इन सबसे ऊपर है, as we said in
yeah.
Hindi कि ये सब मोह माया है for them. They are just a tad above everything. Like they're in the game. And moreover, you know what, Abel, bro, I think you say that Champions League is the biggest game of the season. I think City are at the helm of greatness, that the next game which they play is the greatest game. For them, FA Cup is probably the greatest game in their history now,
Yeah, I mean, I'll say why.
because
I was
that
speaking
allows
to
them,
Manchester
you know,
fans.
yeah,
Yeah,
that allows them to be one step closer to again playing probably their biggest game in history.
yeah, yeah,
Because
yeah,
if they lose this, of
yeah,
course, of course, the Champions League would remain the biggest game. But if they win this one, and then they would be near something that I think would probably engrave them, if not then probably top five best teams ever. And
yeah,
to go from how City is dubbed as historyless, thisless,
yeah,
fanless, whatever,
yeah.
to actually being in the top five, top three teams
Absolutely.
to ever exist in the footballing
Yeah,
history would be
yeah,
huge. So I think had they not won the Premier League,
yeah,
they wouldn't have had this treble thing in their mind.
yeah, 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 yeah.
Then they would have been. Then it would have been advantage United. But just seeing the game as it is, it's so big for City because of
Yeah.
what they could achieve.
And I love the way how Pep has dealt with this whole situation, right? He is, I mean, we talk about him underplaying stuff time and time again, but he has
Yeah,
taken every game as it comes. He's not
yeah,
thought too far ahead. He's not thought like, okay, what will I do? He's not overthought it as well. Now we
absolutely.
complain Pep about it, but he's not done that, and that's the best part about it. The only way
Yeah,
you saw after City won the Premier League, they started giving chance to all the other players. For example, even Palmer started playing, Ortega. So all these lads started growing in, which is very much looking at the season they've had, the number of workload they had to manage with all the players. They had to give that good 8-7 days break,
yeah,
prior to a big two finals. That's why I give credit to Pep for that. But at the same time, you are on the cusp of history. Now, 20
yeah,
years down the line, I think the generation will remember for what City will do today or the next few weeks
absolutely.
or next few days. And you will be like, oh, this team did it, 20 years ago. And you're going to be compared with that. And you're very close to doing something which only one Premier League team in the history has been able to do. That's United in
Yeah,
99,
yeah,
2000, what they did. You are that close. Now you're talking about the magnitude of which not a lot of teams are doing it. To win a treble in the history of football itself is a tough task. Barcelona did it
absolutely.
twice, Bayern did it twice, Inter Milan did it once, but now what we're talking about is that close. That's a
I
big
think I
achievement.
think it's only four teams, right, that have done it. It's
I think
Milan,
so.
United, Barca, and
Milan, United, Barcelona, and United. I think so. If I'm missing out on someone, please do correct me, chat. If you know
yeah,
about
yeah,
any
yeah.
other team
Chat
who
me,
has done
yeah,
it.
yeah,
So I'm not at the top of my mind. I'm just getting these four teams, and all these
yeah,
teams have done in last 2 decades. It's not before
yeah.
that. It's just last 2 decades, and you can be a part of it in the last 2 decades, and
Wow.
that's what we are talking about. So that is massive, and City are going all in for it, and it's a historic game for them. And as I was going to tell you, the fans of Manchester rate this game more than the Champions League final in itself. So that's what we are talking about. The fans of Manchester, you ask a City fan, I'm talking about locals in Manchester back then, and uh, and they were all saying that we want to win the Manchester derby, because you know how tough it is and what is the rivalry there in that city. The city
Yeah,
is divided into two. We talked about Milan derby a couple of weeks ago. It's the same thing. It's bigger than that, considering the context of this big final. You're claiming
absolutely.
the supremacy for the English domestic cup, and you're playing in Wembley, a historic stadium, and it's nothing bigger than this. We're talking Milan derby.
Absolutely.
Let's put that in the same bracket. Let's put it in the same bracket, and we're going to be talking about who's going to be supremacy, who's going to be supreme on Manchester tomorrow night, and wingers will be key. Wingers will be key midfield somewhere is given. What do you think about that? Because for me, Riyad Mahrez, a lot of reports that he might start. What are your thoughts on that? Just start off at City, then we'll come to United, because whatever I see, Pep doesn't make a lot of changes, but in finals, given what Pep has done previously, do you think he's going to be a wild card because he's coming off a FA Cup hat trick in the last FA Cup game he played?
I don't know, man. I don't know. What Pep has been playing for like quite a lot now. I think with Jack Grealish on that left side.
Or do
Um,
you like to put this question the other way around? Do you think the wingers or even the midfielders going to be the key? Because considering what City does.
you know what? I see this from a very, I don't know, how should I say, a very pragmatic angle. I think explosiveness wise, I would even debate that our wingers would be more
Yeah,
explosive.
yeah,
They could be
I'd
more.
say that. I agree
But
to you.
I think the in especially in these games, I think a winger could win you or lose your match by not actually exploiting the defense, by actually contributing for the defense is what I mean.
Yes,
This is where
yes,
City is miles ahead. Miles ahead. Jack Grealish could be messy for any sake. He would
yeah,
still run back with the same intensity as if he were Dan James at Leeds United. You know what
yeah,
I mean. So,
yeah,
oh,
absolutely.
Fulham, beg your pardon.
Yeah,
So, that is what I mean. Anthony maybe could be dominant if Mahrez starts. He could dominate Mahrez in terms of who's more explosive.
yeah,
Rashford, as you've seen throughout the season, in terms of pure numbers, he could get a goal and Jack Grealish won't. But it's
yeah,
about when Rashford doesn't have the ball. Would he be
yeah.
willing to track back as hard as someone like a Foden, a
Grealish.
Grealish, a
Yeah,
Mahrez would do?
yeah,
Who knows? That
yeah,
is where I think the game could be won and lost. We've seen time and time again how Wan Bissaka, whenever we've won the derby,
yeah,
how Wan Bissaka has absolutely like been pivotal to that. That is
yeah,
because
absolutely.
the kind of football that City play, you
Yeah,
have to be one thing. If someone asks me aggressive or
yeah,
defensive masterclass, I'd go for defensive. If
yeah,
you're defensively assured, I think that's half the battle won against City.
yeah,
You could
absolutely.
be you could be all guns
It's
blazing
very
it
simple
forward.
philosophy. You don't lose if you don't concede. Simple as that.
Exactly, and especially in cup finals and cup tournaments, you don't concede, you go
Yeah,
deeper. The
yeah.
the
You
deeper
think
you
you will
go,
take a leaf out of what you guys did in the Carabao Cup because Newcastle had majority of the ball, especially in second half.
yeah,
They were coming at it, but defensively you stood compact. After
yeah,
a couple of goals you got in the first half, you did not let it slip away where you were starting
yeah,
to open up a lot more. You kept it compact. Even from
yeah,
the start in that game, if you look, there were moments when it against United did press a lot more.
yeah,
But more often than not, they knew what they had to do. They had a goal in mind. Let's be compact. Let's not let Newcastle
yeah.
to create those spaces, put
I
those in
think, yeah,
behind runs, and put those penetrative passes as well. That's where I think I thought Licha was incredible that game. Licha was on
yeah,
top of his game, and it's going to be a
yeah.
big miss tomorrow. But yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
Absolutely, and that is where I think the likes of Bruno, Casemiro, and Varane, men like them, sort of came onto the hold. And I called this at that time that we played that final as if we took a book out of Jose Mourinho.
Yeah,
It wasn't as defensive, but we've seen. I think Mourinho is at his best when he controls finals without having the ball. And
yeah,
that is something we did versus Newcastle. They did not
yeah,
have many clear chances. They had the
yeah,
ball, they were
yeah,
in the final third, but
yeah,
I didn't see, De Gea flying here and there as we have seen in some
yeah,
previous games. So I
yeah,
think that was a great example, and that is what players like Casemiro do, and he showed his class even in the offensive part when he scored
yeah,
that brilliant header. So,
yeah,
I just think personalities will play a huge role. So will the tactics and the determination of the team on the day. And
yeah,
it's got more to do with United because we've seen it could be momentary with us. It's
yeah,
something that is instilled in City. There
yeah,
is no City without determination running, but there
yeah,
is still a United which
yeah,
exists without all of that hard work. So
yeah.
it'll be, how, yeah,
And that's been a beautiful transition on Eric Ten Hag as well. He's got the instinctiveness of a manager where he knows how to manage a game very good. You've seen that with
absolutely,
Ajax time and time again, and everybody will say that there would be days where you look like Ajax have scored a couple of goals, but he knows how to manage a game and not let it slip away. And
Mm,
that's a trait of a very good manager. We speak about Jose Mourinho. I mean, the last cup final which he lost a couple of days ago would be one of those very rare occasions after getting a lead, he just let it slip away, and it came down to penalties. That's what we're talking about. He did not let it slip away, slip away. It was an own goal and it was a penalty. It was just unfortunate state of affairs, I would say, for what
yeah,
happened with Roma. But then that is what it is. But he still was there. He was in control of it. I still believe. But Sevilla, you give credit to that, just to put mention over there. Credits to them for winning the 7th Europa League title. Finals are never easy to win. I mean, let's be honest. Let it be any Conference League, Europa League, FA Cup, or
Absolutely.
Carabao Cup, you still have to play on that day to win it, because
Absolutely.
you have this feeling that both the teams start on an even level footing, because it's a final. The pressure is going to be almost the same, and it's about who handles it better as well. That's why I'll talk about another factor. Let's talk about the first major cup final for somebody like Erling Haaland. He didn't win the Premier League, but it's the first major cup final for him. Now, we have to not discount that. How big a threat it is going to be, the Erling Haaland factor. His first game against City, first game against United, he did score a hat-trick there. And, remember the game where he and Foden really played well. So, he has got good record against his team. He's not played in the last couple of matches. He's gotten enough rest. You think it's about time for him to switch on? And how do you think United can counter him as well?
Man, remember like the previous time we were discussing this exact thing. I think Haaland has now transitioned, and I think maybe it's the system now City is playing, that he is now a threat off the ball just due to his aura, just due to his presence in the box, and like the fox in the box, as they say, and not in terms of striking instincts, but just in terms of personality and how we saw Real Madrid suffer due to that. And I hope we don't commit the same mistakes, because remembering, I use this analogy with Ronaldo a lot. However good a player Ronaldo was, or even like for that matter, any striker, Lewandowski, Haaland, it is the De Bruyne's, the Fodens, the Grealishes of this world who would give. Haaland isn't a striker who bangs in from 30 yards.
Yeah,
He
absolutely.
hasn't got that shot of a Rashford who,
Yeah,
swirls it. He
yeah,
scores majestic goals due to his predatory instincts.
yeah,
But those instincts come in question when there are situations developed by other players. So
yeah,
I think if you'd rather focus, which we did phenomenally well in the game which we won
yeah. The
against
last
City.
leg, the last time you
Yeah,
guys played. Yeah,
yeah. It wasn't that Haaland missed any chances. It was
yeah.
that Haaland did get any touches. That was
Well, now
because,
that's what I want to ask you this point. It's a very similar point. Now,
yeah,
when you guys played City the last time, the system was different. Yes,
yeah,
City was still getting used to how to use Haaland. You can still say it was early part of the season, because it happened just prior to the World Cup. It was still the early part of
yeah,
the world. It was still early part of the season to a lot of extent. Now City has deployed a whole nother tactics, a whole nother system in itself. Now it's a lot more fluid than what it was before. You have a John Stones coming into zone 17, zone 14s. You have Kyle Walker being much more predatory, it's coming up the
yeah,
field. Akanji and Nathan Ake is back in the team once again. The system is
yeah,
totally different. Rodri is more up the field at times. He goes back. Now there's a lot more fluidity in this team, and they use Haaland at times as a decoy lot more
yeah,
often than not. He is not
yeah,
that goal banger which he was at the start of the season. Now
yeah,
City has become where they've used Haaland as a decoy, and you will get the ball to Haaland, but at the same time use Haaland as a distraction for others to create a lot more width and a lot more
absolutely.
space in between, which Bernardo and Grealish has been doing beautifully for City. Now, you think that's going to be a difference for United to tackle it coming into this fixture?
Absolutely. And I hope and pray as a United fan, I have believed that, Ten Hag is not a mate of mine who just rests all day and then sees football as per his convenience. I think, yeah, like uski job hai wo. And,
Yeah,
from the
yeah,
smart manager that we've seen he is, I think he should, like, I just, again, pray, man. Because if there's a lot of confusion. Kuch samajh nahi aa raha as to what formation is City playing. I have no clue whatsoever. But if there's one thing which is clear about a transition in City's play, is that it's not the fact that Haaland is not scoring goals. It's this his profile has changed. It's like
yeah,
that small intricate difference in
yeah,
not in
yeah,
his play, the way he's being played.
yeah,
Where these questions, oh, were City a better team without Haaland?
yeah, yeah, yeah,
It's just throwing that in the bin altogether for once and all. And
yeah,
I think that is where Guardiola is like a god at that. I think how even I would say my fan base, a lot of other teams just keeps moaning about, oh my god, we don't have a right back backup, oh, we don't have a striker. City won it without a striker, without a left back, without a CDM in different
yeah.
three
Yeah,
seasons together.
City literally does not have a right back backup. I mean, I know that there's Rico Williams, but then Rico Lewis. But what we want to talk about
There's
is
no
Kyle
right
Walker.
back right now.
There's no right back right now.
There
There's
is
no
no
right.
proper left back right now. A right back Walker, he wasn't even
We're
sure
talking
about
about
playing him
John
there.
Stones coming near the final third to create plays. Now that's what we're talking about.
Exactly. Exactly. They had to they shifted Fabian Delph from CDM to LB to LB to CDM as per their convenience.
Okay.
They did it with Rodri and Fernandinho
Yeah.
at centre
Yeah.
back.
Yeah. Yeah.
Kun Aguero was here and there. They did it with Foden and De Bruyne as the false nine. So all
Yeah.
of this, that is where people don't give Guardiola and I get pretty angry, to be honest, even as a United fan. It's
Yeah.
so easy to say, oh, he had Messi there, he had
Yeah.
Lewandowski there, he
Yeah.
had all the money here. Oh, come on,
Yeah.
yeah. Just try to dissect. Just try to
Yeah.
just give some effort into your thoughts and just think. It's not been all God. He just went that. The reason why he's successful for a long term is had he
Yeah.
kept an unhappy Cancelo, we might have had an unhappy Bernardo Silva and an unhappy Jack Grealish to be dealt
Yeah.
with coming into
Yeah.
the later part. There was this one
Yeah.
unhappy element. He said, if you want to leave, there's the door. And he left.
Yeah.
He's happy, City's happier. So I
Yeah.
think credit where it's due. And again, coming back to that point, a beautiful change by Guardiola mid-season yet
Yeah.
again, shifting his tactics. And I just hope we are able to neutralize that threat down the
Yeah.
wide channels, because that is where even
Yeah.
Haaland would be, full of threats if he receives the ball from there. So yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, that's what I was talking about. I mean, let's talk about United's possible lineup as well, because it's so important to understand who are the players who are fit and whatever. Luke Shaw will be returning back from injury, whatever back issue he had. I think he's going to be fit and fine for tomorrow. And at the same time, who would you like to see in the defensive partnership? Harry Maguire is there, but you still have to go Lindelof, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. And I've been a big criticizer of Lindelof, man. But
Yeah,
credit where it's due, he has stepped up big time, and he's come in and filled the boots for someone like Lisandro Martinez, which this
yeah,
season wasn't anywhere near
yeah,
easy. And I think he's complemented Rafael Varane pretty well.
yeah,
One thing where he also sort of suits into the system well is that he has suddenly developed this knack of being pretty good with his feet
yeah,
for the past a couple of seasons. So that
yeah,
has helped us as well. So I think it has to be Varane and Lindelof there. Well, Luke
yeah.
Shaw and I don't know who'd start. I would want AWB, to be honest,
Yeah.
but
I
Dallo
mean,
has
he's got
just
something about him in these big games. We have criticized him a lot, especially when it comes to his career development. His ceiling was pretty high from the moment he came, and
yeah
and this season especially, you've seen that moments where what he can do against top
yeah
teams, what he can possibly do as an explosive right back, and that's what we're talking about with him. And with Van Bissaka, that's one trait which is always carried, and that's something which is going to be so inherent in him.
but
And
that's
I
what
think
like Dallo has just signed a contract, so I don't know, benching him in a cup final 3 days after you've made him sign a contract for 2028. I don't know
yeah.
how does that go, but
Well, we'll
let's see.
talk about the front line, but before let's come to midfield. Ericsson is definitely a big factor here. There are reports which says Ericsson might not start.
Yeah,
How do you rate that? Because Ericsson, I always felt like you can always rely on it. If Bruno is moving up the field, he can drop it. He can do that job. He can win as a number six. And even if Fred has to come in his place, you can do that straight swap. And with Ericsson being so versatile as a player, and he can control that game. He actually can control the tempo of the game. I know you're talking about City, who doesn't like to give the ball away too much, but still in spaces, even as a ball progressor, Ericsson can do that job, especially in counters. If United are going to play that style of a game,
yeah,
he can be that ball progressor who can release it to Bruno, and from
yeah,
there Bruno can start the play.
yeah,
How
yeah, yeah.
important is Ericsson going to be in tomorrow's game?
Oh, absolutely important. And I just think there's this, I don't know, man, what to do, what psychology, just because the guy had, a big major problem,
Yeah,
a very unfortunate series of events which
yeah,
we came notice to, and now the people have just suddenly just made a persona of him as if he can't run. What people don't realize is this is Manchester United, this is Premier League, and this
yeah,
is UEFA approval. Even if he
yeah,
was 99.5, I'm not even saying 80, 70%. I'm saying
yeah,
even if he was 99, he wouldn't have played. Let
yeah,
alone at United, he wouldn't have played. People have just made a persona about that he can't run. Oh,
yeah,
he can't run. Why can't he? He can. For the first 7, 8 games, I because I haven't checked the stats after that. I don't know what the stats are. For the
yeah,
7, 8 games he was here, he was the guy who covered the most distance for us,
yeah,
and he does that. The brilliant
yeah.
thing about him
Yeah,
is
I
that he
saw the
does it
stat as well that he covered close
offensively.
to 18 kilometers a game, one of the games. Like
Exactly.
18
So
kilometers, no joke.
exactly. So he does it. The beautiful part about him is that he does it defensively, which most people do, but he also does it offensively. The
Offensively,
the
yes.
one of the standout things about Guardiola teams is the positions. There is no one ever, even the centre backs were ever still. in a Guardiola system. They're moving. They're leaving their space, which creates some space,
Yeah,
which is one of the most fantastic traits Eriksen has.
yeah,
Once Bruno drops, the beautiful position Eriksen takes is just
yeah,
majestic. So I think it's a final. He's a very seasoned campaigner.
yeah,
There is no way I would start Fred. Fred for me would be perfect in a role after 60, after 70 minutes,
yeah,
or if
yeah.
we go into extra time when
So if
legs
you're
are
managing
tiring.
a game, if you're managing a lead there.
Yeah. Even if we aren't, if we want to now win the ball back, he does it, especially
Yeah, it
after
does.
60, 70 minutes
Yeah,
when people
yeah,
give a
absolutely.
lot of their effort in a cup final.
Yeah,
Legs are tiring, season's
yeah,
coming to an end, so that could play
yeah,
a factor. And then you put in someone like him, maybe. I would, but just without a shadow of a doubt, start with the perfect three, which is
yeah.
Casemiro, Ericsson, and Bruno for
Sure.
sure.
What about up front? That's going to be very interesting because that's a question which we had as well. Because
Oh,
Marshall is ruled out from whatever we know,
yes.
and even Anthony has got something looming over him. Maybe he might not say, he might just come off the bench. So
Yeah.
what's going to be up front? Of course, Rashford starts for sure. Then the other two.
It'll be difficult, man. I'm tempted to say Garnacho with Rashford up front, but I've seen Garnacho, and I mean, with Kyle Walker there, I don't. I'd really love him. I'd really love to keep him again as a sub,
Yeah,
for sure. And I'm
yeah,
like, he's just returning from an injury, and I saw
yeah,
him playing the full 90. He didn't look like the perfect player,
yeah.
the perfect sort of Garnacho. But then again, the option it
I mean,
leaves
we all have to
us.
also understand he's still developing as a player. He's still, what, 18, 19? He's not yet
Yeah,
20. Let's remember that. I mean, there's a
yeah,
lot of expectations on him at a very young age, which is good. But at the same time, I think there's a lot of undue pressure. I mean, every time he steps on the field, people are expecting him to go out there and create moments of magic, which doesn't often happen. And I love the way how they are integrating Garnacho into the system. They're not rushing
yeah,
him. So I credit Eric Ten Hag for this because it could have been easily that Garnacho was put in as an 18-year-old, put
yeah.
that burden, try to replace Ronaldo, just go out there, do a job for us, put Rashford in the middle of the park, through the central, and put Garnacho in the left wing. This could have been done, but that patience and perseverance to develop him and integrate him and give him a full season is yet to be
Yeah,
done. And maybe in a cup final, it's not the right thing to do. And you saw what Garnacho did last time around. He came as a super sub, and he
yeah,
changed the match in City. That's what he can do
absolutely,
off the bench.
absolutely. And that is where I sort of incline. If I had to make a prediction, what I want is something different. But if I had to make a prediction, because the lack of front options, that really puts us with Weghorst maybe
Yeah,
as the striker, which I don't think would happen. So a beautiful point which P Rishikesh here makes, that we have seen often times when we had many injuries in the front line. It's Bruno who switches to right, so that could
yeah,
actually inculcate Fred as well as Ericsson into the midfield, with
yeah,
Bruno on right, Rashford, Sancho on the left, and Rashford up front. So
yeah,
I think if I had to make a bet, I think I would go with this one, because I think
yeah.
Ten Hag would prefer that. So yeah,
That's a very fluid system as well because
it is.
you have players who can interchange and play. It's not like a system which is very rigid and which is good against City to an extent because
Yeah,
then you are making Pep also think at the same time, what do I do with this team? It is like you don't want to mirror yourself. Pep is someone who's master at doing that. He doesn't like someone mirroring that. He was very annoyed when Klopp used to do that to an extent at times,
yeah.
and that's
Mhm.
something which he did it. He did it against Klopp as well, one of the games last season. So that's something which he'll really enjoy watching, and that's why I think this final is going to be an epic one. I'm excited for this final more than the one next week because I feel there's two quality teams. I'm not discounting Inter Milan at all, but I'm just saying that you
Mhm.
want to
It's the
see
Manchester derby. There's that
Manchester.
derby
It's
factor.
a reputation, and you don't
Yeah.
often get to see these two teams play in a final. I don't know. Have they ever played in a final before?
I do. I'm sure that they've never met in an FA Cup final. That's for sure.
Yeah, that's for sure.
But
The
yeah.
Carabao Cup, if I remember, they have
Yeah, I
once.
think I think.
I think they have,
But
but FA Cup,
a lot of people are saying, and of course, like quite blatantly, it's United who has the bigger sort of role in stopping the other team from achieving something which is their very own, to be honest. But there's also a little factor of City sort of coming in like as the temporary big brother right now. Ki, हाँ भाई बहुत उड़ रहा है, just slapping them back down
yeah,
and
yeah,
saying,
yeah,
yeah, you're redeveloping and stuff, but hold up, we have Guardiola and he's still here. So not really, not don't really jump on the train so fast, because if suddenly United win two trophies, like it's a domestic double, and
yeah,
that is a big signal and that's a big sign. But if
yeah,
City come in and they say, hold up, like baap baap hota hai type, at least for the temporary being,
Yeah.
as much as I hate to say it. But yeah, that
You're
is where I
you're
think
covering the United side for sure.
yeah, exactly. मैं वही बोल रहा हूँ. I mean, it is hard. It is hard. But wait, being rational, that is where I think it sort of serves as a motivation for them as well.
Yeah,
Because we think they're past these things and
yeah,
but we have seen these sort of these reports and these Amazon documentaries sort of giving us a hint that there are these things which go on into players' minds and
yeah,
the whole club
yeah,
as
yeah,
a like as a close knit
yeah,
group, they would
yeah,
be discussing, these
yeah,
lads, these
yeah,
red boys are sort of trying to be better than what they are, and let's sort of shut them up once and for all.
yeah,
So
absolutely.
of course,
That's a very good motivation factor because you want to prove to the city of Manchester that we are still there and we are alive
yeah.
and kicking and we are coming back for you. So that's a statement which you want to send out because after the loss of debacle they had in Europa League, and they were possibly chasing that Europa League as well, which they could have possibly, if they would have
Mm.
possibly gone after Sevilla. Now remember, Sevilla
Yep.
are the eventual champions
Yeah.
who you guys lost to, and it's only the matter of time that Sevilla is possibly the greatest ever Europa League team. So
And at least we
yeah, I
can
mean,
say we lost to the eventual champions.
eventual
So
champion. That's the way you can look into it. And I mean, I have to be very honest. There's no better motivating factor than to say winning a domestic double and to possibly say we are going to come back even with a refreshed squad. Hopefully, by start of next season, we can be even better than this. And you can look back into the season and say, once you're done with tomorrow, it's a new season. It's a new
mm,
start for the club.
yeah,
Some of the players are departing. And there's going to be new signings, and that's going to be massive for United as a whole. Even for
yeah,
City, big game for them. Gundogan, Bernardo Silva, a lot of things looming around them. There's possibly signing Kovacic to replace Gundogan. That's what the reports say as of now. So it's a transition for a lot of players. Tomorrow they're going to be meeting for the
yeah.
last time before the Champions League final, of course, for City and for United at least last time on the pitch for so many of these players. We do not know who's going to leave, who's going to be staying as well. I mean, that's about it from us. I mean, we have covered almost everything. Before that, let's look at the predicted lineups as well. Just before we end it, as a combined 11 as what we can possibly look into. Any changes you'd like to make from this beautiful combined 11? Because
Oh,
Spurs were on a beautiful form. Haaland up
oh.
there. De
I
Bruyne up.
think first of all Edison has to go because Ortega starts. So if
You think
Ortega
Ortega
starts,
starts?
yeah, but that is what Pep Guardiola said today. So I think De Gea, jaldi aao wahan pe. So De Gea's there. One thing. Then of course, I mean, again, Stones said he doesn't play as a centre back. You can't
Yeah,
put him there.
yeah.
Rafael
Varane.
Varane for me, and I can see Shaw there, which is cool.
Yeah,
I'd actually debate, to be honest. Would the whoever plays left back there is better. Whoever plays, there might not be a fixed player, but whoever
yeah,
plays left back there does the job, maybe as
yeah,
equal to Luke Shaw.
yeah.
But yeah, man, I can see no other changes that I would make. Yeah.
Well, it's good. I mean, it's only going to be a debate between Casemiro and Rodri because both have had very good seasons. Let's remember that
Hmm.
Rodri has been so pinnacle. I mean, if you could make a changes, add a 12th man into the squad, which you usually don't, but it's not a bad thing
Yeah.
to do to add Rodri as well.
Impact player. Yeah.
Impact player, yes. Let's just the hangover still being there.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. I mean, that's about it from us, guys. Thank you for joining us, teams, on the beautiful questions we will be able to take as well. We'll be back hopefully day after tomorrow because Conference League final is also a West Ham in hunt for a trophy in 70 long years. I mean, that's what we're
Wow.
talking about. I mean, after a horrific season they had in the Premier League, they want to redeem themselves
Yeah.
and make it to Europa League next season by winning the Conference League. I mean, that's a beautiful switch, isn't it? So that's what we're
Wow.
talking about. And we'll be reviewing the FA Cup final as who is going to win it and who's not. So that's something we'll sit and review. So thank you for joining. Do remember to subscribe to our channel and give a follow to our Instagram page as well. And do not forget to check out our course if you're an aspiring football analyst. You want to take call shots in big finals like this, and you want to be the one who want to devise strategies. Check out our football analyst course. You can be putting your first ever footing into a long journey. Have a good time, all of you. Take care and see you all very, very soon. Bye bye.